And now it's time for Fabulous Film and Friends. On our season finale to our fourth blockbuster year in the podcast space, we're going to answer the burning question on everybody's minds these days. What's the deal with Richard Lester? In order to find that answer, we're digging into the notable works from his 4 decades in show business, starting with 1964's A Hard Day's Night, starring John Lennon, Paul McCartney, George Harrison, and Ringo Starr, a.k.a. the Beatles, along with Wilfred Brambell, Norman Rossington, Junkin and Victor Spinetti. Then we're on to 1973-74's The Three and Four Musketeers, starring Oliver Reed, Michael York, Richard Chamberlain, Frank Finlay, Raquel Welch, Faye Dunaway, Christopher Lee, and Charleton Heston. Then topped off with 1983's Superman 3, starring Christopher Reeve, Richard Pryor, Jackie Cooper, Marc McClure, Annette O'Toole, Robert Vaugh, Annie Ross, Pamela Stevenson, and Margot Kidder. My guests this week are the ever-reliable Roseanne Caputi, and fresh from the sweltering fields of the Sacramento Valley, camera in hand, and twice the photobug that Jimmy Olsen ever was, Gordon Alex Robertson. Alex, you're off the hook this week, as Roseanne is going to give us 3 factoids about Richard Lester to warm us up. Hit us with the facts,
Okay. He's from Philadelphia, spent a lot of time in England, considered a jerk, but also considered the grandfather of MTV.
Wow, a bonus.
For
Cool.
MTV.
all from you, guy.
Before we bumble and stumble and pratfall our way into the madcap muddled mind of Mr. Lester, the synopses. A Hard Day's Night follows the Fab Four during a 24-hour period as they attempt to escape the responsibilities and madness of fame, their managers who need them to just stay put for one television appearance, and the misdeeds of Paul's ornery grandfather who keeps throwing a monkey wrench in everyone's plans. The Three and Four Musketeers adapts the classic Alexandre Dumas swashbuckler following the adventures and exploits of D'Artagnan, a young swordsman who travels from Gascony to Paris to join the King's Royal Musketeers as his father did before him. D'Artagnan soon joins forces with 3 of the most colorful and dynamic musketeers, the 3 friends, Athos, Porthos, and Aramis, when the scheming Cardinal Richelieu's elite guards attempt to arrest them all for dueling. From there, it's non-stop intrigue, war, and tragedy as D'Artagnan and his 3 cohorts try to rescue Queen Anne and her dressmaker, the lovely Lady Constance, from the dastardly machinations of Count Rochefort and Milady de Winter, 2 of the Cardinal's most dangerous and effective spies. Superman 3 features the Man of Steel pitted against Ross Webster, a ruthless business tycoon who enlists a bumbling computer programmer named Gus Gorman to try to control the global coffee and oil markets. Thwarted by Superman at every turn, Ross and Gus build a living supercomputer to stop him for once and for all. But did Gus go too far? And did Richard Lester go too far? Is he an unsung genius, a Hollywood hack, or stuck somewhere in the messy middle? Let's find out. All right, Alex Robertson, you're up first.
Yeah.
Genius or hack? What is he?
A hack with elements of genius.
Weak.
That well, that's all you're going to get from me, pal. I think he just seemed to, he comes out with guns a-blazing with Hard Day's Night. And now I can't speak for the things in between Hard Day's Night and the Three Musketeers, but he seemed to have some momentum going. But I don't know. It just seemed like with each passing year he squandered whatever genius that was.
Were you there in 73 and 74 at the movie theater watching The Three Musketeers?
Yes, I saw both in the theater. Yeah.
What do you recall? What was the vibe in the 70s with those
the
movies?
mirth, the laughter. It was. Everything that's going to appeal to like a 12-year-old mind. The slapstick, which when you watch it now seems to work against it. But the problem that I had, and the thing that shocked everyone, I remember in Four Musketeers, when Milady kills Constance.
Yeah.
And it was shocking. And I wasn't too familiar with the story, but suddenly, it's no longer a comedy. And it was so upsetting. I remember the audience gasping. Like, oh my God, you know? And it's Raquel Welch. You don't do that to Raquel Welch.
Yeah.
But I remember how satisfying it was when they
chopped her head off.
Chopped her head off. Yes, I had no problem with that. I felt, okay, vindication. But it just, it just seemed wrong. I mean, if you're gonna, I mean, even though it happens in the story, she murders Constance. It just, you set it up with all this comedy, and you don't expect that to come, and it just seemed like, wow, that really, that really brought the show down.
Well, segueing to Superman 3, where were you in 1983? Did you see it?
No, I didn't. I stayed away
Why
from
not?
it. I don't know, because I think at that time it was just disappointing to see what had become of Richard Pryor. He really had become a parody of I don't know what. It was like the worst of Jerry Lewis. It was like, come on. This is the guy that had some of the most, revolutionary comedy albums of the 70s. I mean, stuff that I still find funny, racy in more ways than one. But, he really was becoming, I hate to say it, like a Stephen Fetchit character.
Okay, but I was thinking watching that, his performance in that movie is
hold on.
It's okay.
Hold on, Roseanne.
Okay.
Hold on.
Okay.
So,
Anyway.
Roseanne, before you start answering Alex, genius or hack?
Oh. Hack.
Even despite Hard Day's Night?
I love Hard Day's Night.
Yes.
And rewatching it, I was like, this movie is brilliant and so cool and so beautiful and so sharp and just funny as shit and all these things. But I watched it 15 minutes after I finished the just incomprehensibly bad Superman 3.
So is he like the Danny Boyle of his time?
No, and I was thinking like Joe Wright. Like, what is this?
You give us this movie.
Honestly, I think the title of this podcast should be called Searching for Richard Lester, because watching Hard Day's Night, I was thinking, okay, there are parts of that show up in 3 and 4 Musketeers, but by the time you get to Superman 3, almost all of that is gone.
The sock discussion.
Okay, the
for
sock
Superman 3,
discussion
that had shades of
It is,
Grandpa McCartney.
but you know what? Superman 3 was 2 different movies.
Yeah,
that's the
for
problem
sure.
I had. It was a schizophrenic movie. You got Richard Pryor on the one hand, and I did,
For sure.
yes, the sock stuff is hilarious.
And Richard Pryor, I just want to say, Richard Pryor, when you said the Stephen Fetchit thing, I kept thinking, he's not nearly as embarrassing, though, as one of my least favorite performances of all time, which is Eddie Murphy in 48 Hours.
I would probably agree with you there. No.
Richard Pryor in The Toy. Have you ever seen The Toy?
Okay, well, see,
Okay.
I
haven't
avoided
seen
that.
The Toy.
Pure Stephen Fetch.
Okay.
That is
Yeah,
the most.
and it was.
And that's Richard Donner, coincidentally enough.
Yeah.
It's,
But this was leading to that. This movie, because that was that period.
The Toy was 82.
Oh, okay.
Yes.
Well, there was that period.
I'm just saying,
Some
I thought
kind of hero.
I remembered it as worse, and watching again,
Oh,
like,
my
okay,
God.
he's not that offensive in terms of like bottoming out in your career. I've seen worse,
But he has funny moments in the movie.
He does.
And it's just the unemployment office is hilarious. At the beginning, I found it funny.
but it doesn't make any sense. I'm like, he's this
That's why I
computer
say it's like two
programmer, and he
different-
doesn't have a job. Like, again, Richard.
No, he's not a
Lestwell,
computer programmer. He takes a course.
He takes
a course and discovers
And
he's
they're
a
too lazy to
genius.
explain
Genius.
what his genius is.
Yeah, that
Right.
was the
Like,
problem.
well,
was
he
like,
says, I don't know what
you
I
know.
did. Well, what?
Right. It's really lazy. So when when we talk about hack, Richard Lester apparently is just like, it doesn't matter. For like
Well, that's
most
the problem.
things.
Well,
Like,
Seems
in a
most
way,
of
we
the-
should discuss
yeah.
Superman 2, but it's Superman 1 and 2 is such a thing that someday it deserves its own discussion, because Richard Lester, as we
sure.
know, comes on, but he starts putting his imprinteur, or whatever the word is. What's the word?
what is the word?
But he starts putting his
Vibe,
his
brand,
imprint.
I don't know.
But
you
like
know?
the things that are dumb in Superman 2 get really dumb in Superman 3. So it's just like, wow, he's just not good at comedy. Yet he starts his whole career started at comedy. So
Which
that's
is
what I
genuinely funny. Like genuinely funny stuff. Them being like, can we have our ball back? I really
Yeah.
laughed out loud.
Yeah.
You know, all the stuff.
God. Well, no.
I the highlight for me was Grandpa screaming at the cops. With your rubber hoses.
No, that was
You
the
know, I was
best.
just laughing. Like this is really hands down
know.
funny. Like
No, no.
funny ass movie without trying too
Right.
hard, which I thought it was
Definitely
going to have.
not.
I just thought, based on all my experience with Three Musketeers, of course, Three Musketeers we'll get into, but all my like deep sort of connection to the Superman films, I just thought, okay, Richard Lester, I just can't watch Hard Day's Night. I'm sure it's going to be dumb sketch music video comedy like the Monkees, or I keep telling Roseanne, Sesame Street with the guy from Spinal Tap. What's his name, Alex? The actor from
okay, I have to.
What's
look
that guy's at? We know his name.
We all
learned
know his name.
And then anyway, he was
I'm
on
as
the
God
Jeffersons.
made me. I'm as God made me.
Right.
He would be on Sesame Street. I thought
Right.
I thought that's what Hard Day's Night would be. That kind of humor. I had no idea it was going to be sort of almost
No, but this
like
is the movie
French
that
New
started
Wave,
it all.
British sort of kitchen sink drama rolled in and just sly social commentary rolled into one. I didn't think I wasn't expecting it at all. It's the first time I've seen it. I was avoiding all my life, thinking it would just be a dumb Beatles music video.
No, it's actually really sly and hilarious. I mean,
And pretty decent social commentary about
for sure.
the times are a changing.
Times changing, right?
Yeah.
All of them.
And
at
yet,
the-
and
the whole
yet
idea-
a serious tip of the hat to the World War I, World War II generation, which I respected. Like the grandfather is respected, and even though he is being written off as an old man, which I thought that's a pretty funny little commentary they got going. Like the rebels and the deserters and the wits were all being hailed in this movie, which I thought this is actually a really good movie. I just didn't expect it.
Well, and smart enough too to show the Beatles as young, swains with no actual culture in a sense, And
Well, Ringo's taking pointers from the kids.
right.
Yeah.
George Harrison in the actually pretty funny scene about making
Really
fun of
funny.
the girl.
Oh my God.
Yeah,
Really
I was like,
funny.
that's a great scene.
Totally.
Check the calendar. Oh no.
Well, we better fire it just as a
We
precaution.
better fire
Just
just
in
in
case.
case.
Yeah,
Just
I
in
was
case.
Funny stuff holds true
Oh, the
today.
whole thing's
Yeah, I was like, wow, that's.
Yeah.
I just
No,
thought,
it's
what a really
brilliant
sharp
stuff.
movie.
It's super
And
sharp,
so
way
super
funnier
sharp.
than I thought. So then I'm sitting there wrestling with Three Musketeers as I'm 100 pages into the novel because I need to solve this Three Musketeers problem because nobody's nailed it. But Richard Lester, as far as I can tell, I love the films as a kid. I saw it in the theater as a kid, and even as a dumbass 3, 4, and 5-year-old, whenever we saw them, I loved them, and they always stuck in my mind as good movies. I kind of wrote them off in my college years, realizing they were really bad slapstick, and then it was Richard Lester, him and his crappy slapstick. Forget these movies, but then I came back to them inexplicably. I just needed some comfort food, and I turned them on, and I was fascinated by how good they are and yet how frustrating they are. So that's what prompted this podcast. They're really great movies with a terrible, terrible direction by Richard Lester. And now I'm reading the book, 100 pages in. It's not slapsticky. It's funny. There's a lot of comedy in it, but not the comedy that he put forth. So that's
Would you
the
say
issue.
it's the comedy of a Richard Lester from Hard Day's Night? Would that fit more?
It's not even.
Not even any of that.
No, it's sort of a gay. I mean it in the oldest term, gay comedy of French people with vivaciousness and passion and love and a hatred for the hypocrisy of the bourgeois, or not the bourgeois, but the royalty and of course the church, So it just has this sort of ebullient. It's not serious. Like you don't sit there reading and go, oh, this is serious stuff. It's not that grim. I guess it's going to get grim. I haven't gotten that far, but I'm saying okay. There's a certain sort of lightheartedness to it that Richard Lester actually captures fairly well. His problem is his ridiculous love of slapstick.
Unrelenting. And I can't tell what it almost feels like he's part of his brain is just ill or something. It just doesn't make sense.
There is a European sensibility to it. I feel there's two things going on. He's an American, obviously living in England, but there is a European sensibility to that. I've seen it in other movies like Mr. Hulot's Holiday, where that sort of quiet,
for sure,
slapstick going back and forth, a sort of tennis match sort of.
Okay, but the slapstick is unrelenting. Like that's what I realized.
It's ill-fitting. That's the main
sparingly. Yeah.
It's ill-fitting.
Well, okay. It's ill-fitting and it's constant. So unfortunately, it constantly detracts from and he's doing a ton of other things right. but it's constantly detracting from that
Yeah.
in every scene.
The casting is
sucks,
impeccable.
because
The cast.
awesome.
This is why when people say why, you know, and they ask me, is there any movie you really like, Gino? Movies like this come to mind where I go, look at what we grew up with. Where we had these movies that were impeccably cast. You know, like The Godfather and this, they're all just coming out, and people knew what they were doing when they were making movies in the 70s. By and large, they didn't know what they were doing with slapstick for sure.
Yeah.
But the people in the parts, Michael York is perfectly cast. He's the pre-Mark Hamill, you know, young, idealistic, fresh-faced boob. You know, he's perfect. They're all perfect. You don't get better than Charlton Heston as the evil cardinal. Like, how did you even think? It was just pure happenstance. Apparently they wanted him as Aramis, which he said, I'm not going to sit around in Spain for 3 weeks in this part, which is funny. Like, it's a pretty good instinct on Charlton Heston's part.
Well, good on
you know, driven by ego, sure, but he's right. Him as Aramis would have been terrible. Like, would have been a big thud.
And him and Christopher Lee working together is just the best thing on planet Earth, as far as I'm concerned. I'm just
everybody. Faye Dunaway's never been better in a sense. I'd like her better in this than in, say, Network or something. You know.
I do. I definitely do. I
or
feel
even
like
Bonnie
she's
and Clyde.
more- I also agree. I think I like her.
Real quick.
It's
Bonnie
this
and Clyde.
Supergirl.
Bonnie and Clyde was written by Robert Benton and David Newman. David and Leslie Newman wrote the scripts for Superman 1, 2, and 3. Just kind of a crazy connection.
Just a crazy, yeah, 6 degrees of
I
separation.
don't love Bonnie and Clyde, though. I mean, not that we're talking about that, but,
but
I don't consider that like this.
Sure.
Anyway.
Sure, but I'm just saying, it's just Faye Dunaway, I think, as Milady de Winter is fantastic. Like, she just has she has every quality. She's sexy, she's dangerous, she's luminescent, she's evil, and you're like, man, she's really great in this. You know, you take her for granted because everybody else is so great.
Sure.
You know.
No, I agree. Well, that's the thing that's so tricky, because if you had asked me if I thought Richard Lester was a hack, if I hadn't watched Superman 3, I'd say no. And then watching Superman 3, you just think, okay.
Tiredly turned in a movie.
I have to, I know, but I just think you have to really consider it's a bad movie.
Yeah.
It's just bad. Like, that's the thing. Not like Francis
But I consider it Star Trek 4 and 5 bad. Well,
yeah,
but I still look at it. No, hold on.
Geniuses.
I look at it like it's still Christopher Reeve. It's still Margot Kidder. It's still in the set of movies. They're still as bad as Superman 3 is. It's still better than Man of Steel or the new 2025 Superman.
But that's not the question we're asking.
I know.
The question we're asking is if Richard
but
Lester
it's Richard
is a
Lester.
genius.
But it's Richard Lester. Okay, here's the issue. Richard Lester's now on his own. He's not covering Richard Donner's scenes. He's given his own movie to do, and this is what he does.
That's
and
a
it
concern.
does have his mark on it, because there's a lot of stupid slapstick.
A ton of it. How about that whole first 10 interminable minutes or whatever the shit is happening.
And the stops on
I don't,
that.
Roseanne, I don't know
sure.
if you were there in '83 with me. Did we go see it together? I don't remember. You were just a punk kid of 3 years old, 3-year-old snot-nosed punk. If we saw it, it was not, even in '83, it was not working. Nobody was laughing, and it was a crowded Rex theater. Everybody went to see Superman 3 because I think it was one of those movies that, because of Return of the Jedi, nobody went to see it. It was one. It wasn't as big a hit as it should have been because it was up against Jedi. You know, like there was just no anticipation for it. And I think Richard Pryor did turn everybody off because he was rolling gutter balls, as Alex says. You know, early '80s, some kind of hero. The Toy, for sure. I mean, he should have been run out of Hollywood for that one alone.
Well, but he just felt like he was, at that point, phoning it in with everything and collecting a paycheck.
Yeah.
Sure.
And he got $5 million for Superman. That's when $5 million meant something.
And this is the post-fire, too. So,
wow.
Just strange.
Oh, he's looking at.
Yeah.
It's,
but yeah, no, getting back to it, the slapstick never worked. Nobody was laughing at those jokes. But the joke
not
I did
not
laugh
even
at
the Rex.
Not even the Rex. The joke everybody laughed at, and I still laugh at it today, is Robert Vaughn saying he's either a genius or he's a total moron, and him showing up in the Ferrari. It's still a good gag.
It is a funny gag.
Sure.
You know, it's got. There are some gags. There are some funny moments in the movie.
Yeah, sure.
I mean, Christopher Reeves, really, and I got to give him credit, his subtle transformation. And I love that they do very little with prosthetics. It's all like in his performance and a little bit of makeup, like dark around the eyes.
They change the color of his
suit. Baggy eyes.
They change the color of his suit.
Yep, and he starts.
But I like that he's like immediately like grossly sexual with Lana Lang.
Yeah,
and it's just
that's
like,
a
this
funny
is good.
moment.
That's
It's
funny.
a great moment.
Yeah, sure.
There was
But
tension
again,
there, but when she's like, "Don't you think you gotta?"
He consistently is always the same. He's always the best thing about those movies. He is.
Oh,
Yeah,
I just
but
love
that
him.
line he has, that when he dismisses, like, shouldn't you be going? I always get there on time.
I
always get there on
Sounds great. Well, and then when he gives his impassioned Superman speech in front of that fucking robot, which is just the worst thing ever, but he goes back to his, and I was like, Christopher Reeve really is the best. Like, and I've been, you hear enough Superman speeches, and you're like, whatever. And then you see Christopher Reeve locked in.
It was just, after Hard Day's Night, I warmed up. Look, I've hated the movie for a while now because when I got the DVD set in the early 2000s with the extended Superman cut. You watch Superman 3 after 1 and 2, and you just go, oh my god, this is just the worst. It's just so bad. And then Superman 4, can't even get into it, but Superman 3 stands alone as that's a solid Richard Lester film. And the only thing that I found interesting, though, is just like, I didn't clue into how much he's fighting for the little guy with Ross Webster. I didn't realize. Never occurred to me. I just always thought Ross Webster was just a fill-in for Gene Hackman, And
and again, he's like coffee and oil and monopolies and computers. I'm like, okay, well, we're still fighting that fight. So
right.
Good on Richard
Well, then
Lester.
just
That's not nothing.
I've never worn the same pair of socks twice.
No, that was a funny, suddenly I clued into that bit. What do you do with them?
Well, and Richard Pryor's reaction, too.
Yeah.
Maybe they're just socks.
Could they be used as socks? Maybe they're just socks. I never thought of that. Yes.
That's the funniest exchange. I never noticed that exchange at all before. I just suddenly...
And that's what's so frustrating, those funny moments, those great moments. But it was like, okay, you've got this movie over here with Richard Pryor, then you've got this movie over here with Christopher Reeve.
Yeah. And neither of them are good.
Never the twain shall meet, and that's the sad thing. And again, these moments, like, okay, when he's turning to bad Superman and just, putting the moves on Lana Lang, and in such a way, not as a, just, there really is a sense of menace in that scene. He's not playing the perv, but just even when he on top of the the Statue of Liberty with Pamela Stevenson, aren't you going to save me? Nah, it's not. What is it like?
I don't really do that anymore.
I don't really do that anymore. I mean, just the way he dismisses that, or sitting in the bar flicking,
peanuts,
whatever, just peanuts, using his power in the worst way.
I'll bet.
Okay.
And how?
Oh, I can
how
relate
long
to
I've
that.
been dreaming about doing that.
And fixing the Tower of Pisa is a funny moment.
Really?
Even
in '83,
just him. Now
Blue
everything
Screen
that.
City. It just
Well,
looked
no.
bad.
That it did look bad. The Stranzo Superman.
I just think it's
like,
awful.
But just
It's
him.
awful.
No.
It's
Him.
straight. It's not. It doesn't even rate Daffy Duck. It's just
No.
This is just,
You're not even giving me a chance.
Okay, fine. What's funny about it besides ridiculous?
Well, if they didn't have the whole thing with the two,
Mamma mia, where's
that's
my
the
pizza?
problem.
It's so bad.
No, if they didn't have that, if he just is flying along, it's a funny idea. Like, either he's doing it thinking he's doing the right thing, but just is, nothing has gone right with this guy. I mean, obviously he's, whatever
it's the same as the ice cream hitting the face during the villains blowing everybody away.
I don't think it's that bad.
It's on that level. I think. Anyway, okay.
Well, it's Richard Lester.
Okay, but where is the?
What can I say?
You can't say that about Hard Day's Night, though. So where is that sharp, like?
But because it seems like all the pieces were there, ready. And I think the other thing is he did not have the luxury of time. with Hard Day's Night, because that thing was shot like in 8 weeks, and it was
For
released within-
$500,000, apparently.
and released within 4 months. So, I mean, that's unheard of. I mean,
Yeah.
it's like, and that idea was just let's
Right.
get
So
it
he
made.
turns in this very funny, and it's so sharp and beautiful.
I don't think they had
It's so
time
cool
to really
looking.
sit back, and they just went with their wits.
So given
And-
time and money, he sucks.
You kind of wonder. Well, it's like something that Robert Rodriguez always said. I'm not defending his filmmaking, but I always agreed with what he said in his book Rebel Without a Crew. You don't need the problem with too much money is it takes away your creativity. Now you got the money and you just, it's like I don't do that anymore. Rather than, well, we got to use our wits. We got to use, we don't have time to think. We're on a tight budget, tight schedule. Let's get it done. It was one of those fortuitous moments where you had 4. And again, how can you explain the Beatles phenomenon? It's just one of those things that it just happened when it happened, almost as if it had to happen. These 4 guys by themselves, they're fairly charming, but together they were a juggernaut.
And
that
he
movie
captures that energy.
Are you
that's
saying
so cool,
he doesn't get credit for that?
No, I think he was smart enough to see it. He was the director. He deserves credit. I will say that. Because then if you go a year later when he did Help, now he's got a lot of money and a lot of time. And Help has its moments, but it doesn't have that cohesive edge that Hard Day's Night has.
We probably should have watched that too, but I thought 4 movies was
Probably.
enough.
It's it's more of a spoof on the James Bond movies, and it's an excuse to go all over the world. I mean, they start in London, they go to the Alps, Austria, I think, then they go back to London, then they end up in the Bahamas. And all I remember reading about, John Lennon's experience was, well, we were bored most of the time and stoned out of our minds. I mean, he said they shot it in a haze of marijuana. In fact, you see it in some scenes or little moments where they're screwing up lines they kept in the movie, because it kind of added to the zaniness. But it was like, because he was so stoned, he forgot his lines. Or this scene where they're supposed to run away and then they yell cut. And, Paul McCartney
is it a year
keeps
later?
running. Yeah, 65.
Wow.
They shot it in 65.
Okay, but
and
look at the Beatles and how they had so much more time and money, and they didn't become hacks. They became even better. And at the end of their career, it's like their zenith. So that's an example of genius, whereas Richard Lester does the opposite. So that I feel like he's a hack.
But Coppola's been swinging and missing for a while now. I mean, a lot of directors sort of fail. So are you saying Richard Lester? Because I'm a little torn on Three Musketeers. I'd say that's his best movie in a sense.
I really like 3 and 4 Musketeers, but there's so much wrong with it that I almost feel crazy saying that I really like it. Except I really enjoy watching it, and everyone's awesome.
But
and it's beautiful.
Like you said, it's so perfectly cast. Yeah. It is so sumptuous.
Yeah,
it is like
gorgeous.
Some of the best sets I've ever seen.
And I can tell you now,
it's so in the period.
At least 100 pages in, as I'm contemplating, like, would I tackle a Three Musketeers adaptation? It's a pretty decent adaptation, honestly. Like making the story work, because we're talking about this long novel which has lots and lots of sword fights. And just in the first 100 pages, they're dueling. D'Artagnan's constantly getting mad and dueling people, and so there's a lot more. Between them, I'm like, okay, the screenplay is actually this George MacDonald Fraser, this novelist. Anybody familiar with his work? The guy who wrote, he had some sort of hit spy series.
I think he did the Flashman series, which Richard Lester was going to attempt, and he did make Royal Flash with Malcolm McDowell.
Okay.
I think Oliver Reed, a early role for Bob Hoskins. I think this came in the mid '70s. I'm not sure.
Yeah,
and I
saw that.
They were hoping for a series.
Yeah.
Yeah, it just didn't.
Okay, then this makes me go back on that. Sorry, Alex. I was just thinking.
It's okay.
Okay, but his great films aren't like, Ron Howard's great films, which are never great, or the greatness, the great qualities of his films are better than many other, I would say, second tier, third tier directors.
Well, Three Musketeers is a lot like a Ron Howard film, because now, like, when I look at it now, I go, it's a lot like a Ron Howard film, because Ron Howard films, especially early on, he did, to give Ron Howard some credit, he did get better. But I always thought his films were not quite there, from Splash, but especially Willow. Like, it looks good. It seems like it should be good, but it's not good. You know?
Well, okay.
And that's sort of Three Musketeers. But now I having watched all the other, not all the others, but I watched 2 other incarnations, I couldn't bear to bring myself to watch the Charlie Sheen, Chris O'Donnell catastrophe again.
Boy, there is bad casting.
Okay, well, wait a second.
How you do it, how you
But
don't
having
do it.
seen other versions of it, the Logan Lerman one, which I lasted 10 minutes before saying see ya, no, I'm not going to watch this horse shit, and Paul W.S. Anderson at that. So I'm like, no. But right now, the only good one, and I've seen the Gene Kelly one, but I was a kid, so I'm sort of curious about that one. But of the bunch, Richard Lester is the closest, even though he fails.
And
he fails because he can't take it seriously. He just doesn't take it seriously when it should be taken seriously. Until the end, and then, as you say, Alex, it seems a little too shocking. It's too little too late. Like, well, now it's getting
tone
grim.
is crazy. And then when you see
Yeah.
Milady, getting beheaded and feeling, you're just like, okay, am I satisfied? I wanted way more with her and Oliver Reed.
Yeah.
I wanted so much more from that relationship, because the 2 of them together is dynamite. And also because I think they're both just doing great work. I just think plenty of other things should have had more focus, and they didn't. And so it really is, that's a failure of pacing, I feel like, and tone, because by the end, when you shouldn't be that surprised that Raquel Welch is dead, where it just seems like it seems like in a Muppet movie if someone got murdered. Like, that just seems nuts.
It's like what William Goldman talked about when
and
they
Waldo
were
Pepper.
premiering Waldo Pepper, and it's
But these movies were hits.
Yeah, but he said that how it changed the tone, how it people weren't ready for Susan Sarandon's shocking death.
Okay, but that's not. There's
it's different though, because you got
Hamlet.
This is like Hamlet,
hey,
but it's not.
Huck Finn or something where you're like, what the fuck just happened? Sorry, excuse my language.
It's okay.
What just happened?
I don't know. Well, and there are deaths in the Three Musketeers, but they're all done in that comical sense. Yeah. But when you have this major character,
every fight up until then is, comical, and then all of a sudden she's just so dead.
Yeah.
Very dead. Yeah, you weren't expecting that.
Yeah.
Now, for those of us that weren't familiar with the full story, my introduction to the Three Musketeers, and I mean this in all sincerity, was the Banana Splits. It was the Three Musketeers cartoon. That was it. It was like, I knew about them only because of that silly cartoon.
Well, my love started with the chocolate bar. I wish I was
that
kidding.
Chocolate bar. I hated that chocolate bar.
It's a terrible chocolate bar.
That was one of those that when you
Nougat.
came home from Halloween.
This is a Three Musketeers.
Guess what ended up on the pile? The Three Musketeers. That's what you gave your little
and
brother.
Tootsie Rolls.
Can I have it? Here, have some Smarties and a Three Musketeers.
And a Tootsie Roll.
Yeah, beat it. Yeah.
I know.
Butterscotch.
Oh.
But I still like the idea of it.
Anyway, it's just it's a tricky film where this is a weird trajectory. Hard Day's Night, awesome. 3 and 4 Musketeers, good.
Troubled.
And then
Troubled.
Yeah,
troubled.
Right.
But still worth the look. You've got.
I would watch it again in a second.
I gotta say,
honestly.
Superman. Now, again, I'm a little torn on Superman 3 because now it is part of the set with Christopher Reeve, so I don't think it's to be dismissed and never watched again. I'll still probably see it again someday.
And to quote my good friend Gino Caputi,
what?
If a movie can get at least 3 good chuckles out of me, then it's worth it.
Well,
and that movie got some, for me, it got some chuckles.
It gets chuckles, but it also gets really bad groans, like
it does.
Deep groans of, my God, why did the producers even agree to this opening sequence? This is expensive and it's stupid.
Yeah.
They should have just started with the class reunion. And they should have really dug into Lana and Superman and Clark's relationship, because it does have a history from Superman 1. So you could have this whole face-to-face with why he's on Earth and what can't he have his pleasures, and you can have this whole thing of this how he was and having to hide who he was all this time with Lana back in the 50s or whenever he's a kid in the first movie.
And also, he wiped Lois's brain, but his brain should still sort of be lingering on Lois Lane. And then he comes back to Smallville and sort of, realizes like, this is who I am, and this is about my roots, and some Glenn Ford echoing.
Yeah,
whatever.
and use the theme, use the Smallville theme, the John Williams
and
Smallville music.
None of that is present. And I feel like Richard Lester does do that. He misses opportunities. It's like a joke I'm ready to laugh at because I can see the punchline already, and then he just doesn't do it.
Yeah.
And that's how it feels every time. Which is like, this is a perfect setup.
Look at how long that bowling scene is for that setup of the sneeze. Like you're going, and I'm watching going, this is a long, involved scene that doesn't really pay off that well.
He spends his time in weird places, which I understand is a pacing issue, but even with that, like Uncle Dave or whatever the crap his name is, I'm just like, why are we spending so much time with this guy? Like him showing up at the hotel and all those things.
Yeah. What movie? What are you talking about?
Superman 3.
Uncle Dave? Who's Uncle Dave?
That's not his name. The guy who
Gavin O'Hurley.
Oh, yeah. Gavin O'Hurley. Yeah. No.
Yeah.
Gavin O'Hurley is a huge part of Superman 3. He should be up there with Pamela Stevenson. And he should have had a little square on the poster. He's in the movie so much.
No, I know.
Yeah.
And he's giving it his all. Why are we looking at this guy?
I don't know.
I'm not blaming him.
No.
I wish they would have gone further. I think there was opportunity there, and they just.
And there he is in Willow.
Like you just. Yes, there he is in Willow.
I
think the whole Happy Days.
He has a Happy Days and he has a
where
Superman.
he just disappears
he has an English
from
he has a Happy Days connection, which is hilarious.
I don't know, but in the Happy Days universe, there's Chuck. Then suddenly there's no Chuck. Chuck who?
He went up to England. He's in '83 was a banner year. Superman 3 and Never Say Never Again. He's in both of them.
Oh, but Gavin O'Hurley is one of those guys that just like, gosh, he could have been so much bigger.
Yeah.
He really had a presence about him.
Well,
Unfortunately,
he looks like the guy who beats his wife.
Yeah.
Well, but that was part of it.
Yeah.
I mean, I do.
So that kind of presence.
Like how Richard Pryor plies him with booze. It's like, oh well, come on. I mean, again,
I don't know.
I thought that was an obvious one.
Because that appeals to me. I am Curly Howard getting fingers in the eyes. Okay, I'm Larry Fine getting slapped
then
in the
you
face.
should have hailed Richard Lester as a genius.
No, because it didn't have that. I mean, come on.
Oh, and you're laughing at the getting drunk scene.
And the Mamma Mia scene. Mamma Mia, my pizza!
I never laughed at that part. It was just everything. No. I said it could have been better. I didn't say that because that did make me laugh because it was so damn obvious. I'm waiting for Mom. Oh, that's but we get what? Stronzo Superman, Yeah, okay, well, that's good enough, yeah.
I'm just saying there are better jokes waiting, and there are better
that's
jokes that are
it,
even
and the
set
movie
up
doesn't.
He doesn't choose.
He doesn't deliver on it.
I'll tell you this: I don't mind him blowing out the torch. I don't mind him blowing the torch out, and the guy looking around, not knowing what to do. Mildly funny.
It's okay.
Mildly funny.
No, and I would love to have seen it again, and that's where it just feels like two different movies because I really kind of like the idea of the evil Superman, or not. I don't know if I'd call him evil Superman.
He doesn't tear into it deeply enough.
He doesn't.
Because
they don't go
suddenly
far.
It's like
exactly,
Hulk
they
it's
don't
like Hulk
go
and
far
Bruce
enough.
Banner, and it is an evil little, like it is a weird little scene. I never thought about how violently he's trying to kill Bruce Banner. He's trying to kill Clark Kent. And it feels like,
and
okay.
it's and again there was like, okay, there's.
But where's the setup?
Why couldn't they? That's it exactly. What's again? You're bouncing back and forth between Richard Pryor riding down on a donkey. Oh, don't throw me up! Okay, yeah, we get it, and I'm sure that's all ad-libbed. To me, it's like the problem with Robin Williams in that period when it was almost like the directors would just say, "Do your shtick."
Yeah.
Like to this day, it's like I don't get Good Morning Vietnam. It's like all it is, and everyone else laugh at him. Exactly.
But I think
everyone else laugh at him.
Richard Pryor was rolling gutter balls. This is a period.
Yes, he was.
This is a period where nobody's laughing, and he's still not funny.
But the problem is I think nobody's reining him in and getting I mean, it's like you needed like a Paul.
Was the Patton thing kind of funny? Like
I
his
don't
Patton
think
impression,
so. It's
sort of
another
funny. Like,
strange
I
scene.
was trying to think. I'm like, is this working? What's
No,
happening?
it doesn't work at
Yeah,
all. It feels like it feels like
just,
sketch comedy.
Yeah, I was like,
And
this
it's
is
like,
another
it's not
weird.
Now it's like
tone.
little moments, like when he gets his paycheck is a funny moment. Just
Oh,
the
well,
way he tries to contain his. Whoa,
Well, that
you know?
plot again. They
then
recycle
leading
in
up-
Office Space. It's the one thing. Okay, there's
Yeah.
something about Superman 3. I always remember the story. I always remember that he took the little half cents. And I was
Half
like,
cents, yeah.
and somewhere in the back of my little thievish mind, I thought that's a pretty good idea.
Well, and they made a great plot point. Yeah, as you say,
And
in
then,
Office
it's
Space.
in
This
Office
sounds
Space.
familiar.
It seems pretty familiar. Oh, that's a good movie. They're like, oh yeah, that's a good movie. So it does have a certain memory. It's not as bafflingly
Well, it
awful.
must have struck a chord with a certain people. Like Mike Judge. It probably
Yeah.
struck a chord at however old he was when he saw that. Like, hey, that's a pretty, like you said,
Yeah.
it's a cool, because it is.
Okay, but also, so Hard Day's Night. Did you see? So that whole bathtub scene with John Lennon, who maybe might. I mean, they're all really funny and awesome in it, but I just think John Lennon's really weird when he cuts that measuring tape and says,
I
that
have
the
opened this
bridge is
bridge or
open.
whatever.
Yes. Anyway, but when he's in the bathtub wearing that hat and
I'm
playing
sorry.
with toys,
I'm going with Ringo Starr on that one. I
Ringo
thought Ringo
Starr's
Starr was the hero of the movie. You know who gets short shrift of all of them is Paul McCartney. He doesn't
Yeah.
get much to do. I noticed.
That's because he's.
But
he's
I
too
think
dreamy.
they play into their personalities because Paul has his great moments. I love when he puts on the bowler and pardon me, ladies, and he's
Yeah.
talking to the two girls, and of course
One of them, of course,
Wilfred
being
Brambell,
Patty Boyd.
oh beware, girls, sex maniacs. And
These
you
are
know
my
how
prisoners.
He defers everything
Yeah.
to the grandfather character,
Yeah.
which is
Yeah.
kind of funny.
And did you notice how, for a movie that was made in '64, how ribald it was?
Yeah.
I mean,
Yeah,
it was
it
like,
is.
man,
Oh, yeah.
man.
And the Beatles doing it, like they're not trying to
Paul
have an
Mc,
image.
like when they're
sweet.
running up the stairs and John Lennon watching the showgirls going down, and he just had the lecherous look.
Yeah.
I mean, no,
I caught it.
It's
I
yeah.
just
like
Oh
the-
no, you.
The conversation John Lennon's having was just like, I don't. Oh, I do look like him. I thought
Yeah.
all that was pretty funny. But
Yeah,
anyway,
brilliant.
Yeah.
in the bathtub, in Under the Cherry Moon, Prince does the same thing, and he has the same guy who's playing the
That Victor Spinetti.
Victor Spinetti in
Victor
Under the
Spinetti.
Cherry Moon. I was like, I never realized how much it was, and it's all black and white. How much Under
Yeah.
the Cherry Moon was influenced by it, which I'm sure tons of things were. But I just thought,
Well,
how hilarious that he took
Prince,
that
I think, was
scene
smart
of
enough to
all
know
scenes.
a rock and roll movie that works.
For sure. Yeah.
Like, well, this one
Yeah,
worked.
yeah.
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 Well,
it
not so much
set
with
the
Purple
tone.
Rain, but Under the Cherry Moon, I just thought funny. He took interesting parts from Hard Day's Night. That's all I'm trying to say. If we're talking about Office Space and we're talking about the influential nature of Richard Lester, and it does carry on. Anyway, so which I don't know if that means that it echoes in the. Certainly, no one's lifting stuff from Paul W.S. Anderson's films.
No.
Ooey Bowl? I don't know.
Yeah.
So,
Yeah.
No,
have at it.
I'm just shuddering at thinking of Matthew McFadyen and company invading Da Vinci's tomb. I said, "Oh, forget this." Betrayed by milady. Like what? Just stick with the novel, you oafs. God, no, it just
again,
it
like
just
you
you
said.
just see the just decline of brain of just intelligence in cinema as they deal with Three Musketeers. As you go from Charlie Sheen and Chris O'Donnell and
Well, and it's like they
Kiefer
were.
Sutherland.
Kiefer
That's
Sutherland.
really
Cashing-
stupid, and it
Well, it
gets
is.
actually gets worse. It's almost like, well, again, I got to bring it. Yeah, you know how I have to bring up Star Trek in every podcast,
Yes,
but
you
it's
do.
almost how you watch. Like now, at this point, the casts are also bad. You're looking at Chris Pine and everybody as sort of like almost a heyday. You're going, I'll settle for those guys versus who they got now. It's the same thing with Three Musketeers.
I don't know.
And
Well, I mean, the thing about that, I never saw the Charlie Sheen Three
Ugh.
Musketeers.
Whew,
I know.
Roseanne and I
mean,
went.
The trailer was enough for me.
you don't.
But you know,
you don't
you
mean
just
the
got
song
the vibe of.
was enough for you?
Weren't put off by All
Who-
for
who-
One by
who-
Sting, Rod Stewart, and
Oh,
Brian Adams.
Brian Adams.
Yes, I forgot about that.
repeating
Oh,
the
my
smash
Lord.
success of Everything I Do for You.
That's where that came from. Okay.
Well, but remember Brian
Thank you.
Adams with the Robin Hood deal.
Yeah, well, Bryan Adams. Yeah,
Played at every
boy.
7th grade dance from 1992.
All for One
Lord.
just didn't catch on, did it?
Quite.
No, but it was.
No, All for Love. It's called All for Love.
All for Love. It just felt like, that one was just cashing in on the whole Young Guns thing.
Yeah.
Which was a weird, like, how did that movie ever?
Just like
I
anytime
put
you
that
find
in-
yourself saying cash in on the Young Guns thing, it's a horrible.
There you go, and that's what
Yeah.
it felt like.
No,
you
it's
know?
true.
Well, it's worse than that.
I'm just.
Because it's written by
So much worse.
David. Speaking of Star Trek, David Star Trek 5 Lowry wrote the script, and he's a fucking terrible writer. Just one of the worst.
Wow. Well, obviously, I mean, I guess.
And
I don't
it's
know,
just
so.
terrible. Like, this script is terrible, and it's again, it's far better than the Logan Lerman one. That just goes to show you, like,
Is it that
it's
bad?
unbelievable.
Is it that
Okay,
bad?
so
Oh,
that
my
does
God.
beg the question, and back to like searching for Richard Lester. Which film do you suppose is the most Richard Lester? Is this like Snow, where you take off the top and you take off the bottom?
That's
and
why
what's
I'm
in the
talking
middle?
about him, kiddo, because I can't come up with an answer, because it seems to me his true personality is Superman 2 and 3.
Okay.
Because look what he
And then I
does to
think
Super.
hopefully
If anybody's seen, again, we won't discuss it in depth, but if everybody's seen the Richard Donner cut, Richard Donner has his slapstick for sure, but Richard Lester took over, and it's this infantile. I don't even know if it's infantile. It's just this cartoonish, inappropriate level of slapstick that he adds to his films.
Would that be it, though? I mean, because look, I've never seen the Richard Donner cut, and you say it's got the slapstick. Does that?
It's got that
slapstick-
comedy. It's got the sense.
Does it
same
feel
sense
a
of
little
comedy.
bit more organic out of the story?
Sure.
Where with Richard
Lester,
it's
it's just shoehorned in. Like, hey, these people are being blown around. Let's add a roller skate gag.
I gotta say this, and I think here's one of the big influences, and I have the receipts. I have the receipts in the Beatles in the Hard Day's Night, and that is, I think, a huge influence on Richard Lester is Mad Magazine. And I see, especially when we got to the Three Musketeers, because it's all the little peripheral things. It's like Mad Margins with Sergio Aragonés, or it's like any of the Will Elder stuff from there, where you pack in what they call the chicken fat. All these little gags, which in comic book form is funny. If it's and the only person I think that can do that right is Wes Anderson.
Yeah.
I really feel Wes Anderson, but because remember in Hard Day's Night when they're on the train. And Shake is sitting there. He's reading "Son of Mad." I mean, it's just right there. It's almost like an endorsement.
Right.
It's like an endorsement. But I think he was a huge fan. I think a Philly kid, a Jewish Philly kid, growing up in that period. Mad Magazine, that sort of irreverent, satirical humor, that had to be a big influence on him. And I think I see it. He just doesn't know how to execute it. But especially, and to me, that's what really gets in the way of the Three Musketeers and the Four Musketeers, are the little mad marginals, so to speak. I mean, there is a bit of that Jacques Tati, sort of the underscored dialogue, you sort of hear in passing, all the little moments,
Well,
but it's like...
The thing in the back, too, though, I think that's also a great gift, because so many different interesting things are happening that I think really do represent that time period. So he is doing all these wonderful, cool things.
Somehow the
tableaus in Louis XIII's gardens and all that stuff, the hunting party, and the kid who has to sit in the water and release the birds.
Yes.
There's all and the natives, and then the Asian guy speaking about the true light. You're like, this is pretty cool. Like, he definitely has he for sure has a sense of European history. And you're looking at a really sumptuous, good-looking set of films
with interesting details in the back, and
I think nothing.
And the
was
chickens,
spared.
even the fight in the tavern with the chickens, and all just the manner of which they drink wine, and it's all really good. Yeah. And it feels, you definitely feel
even
like
what they're eating. You're just that seems accurate.
It all seems good, except. It just seems stupid at the same time, and I'm curious as to how this plays out in the book. That's why I'm like have an edict to read this book, because I'm like, well, how does it play out in reality? That's what I want to see, because this movie's taken to this level. Like, I just don't buy that this would happen. It just seems like, okay, you're fighting and you're stealing, and it's so obvious. Wouldn't they just be arrested or charged?
So I
It
do
isn't
think,
happening in a
though,
way that seems clever. It just seems stupid.
I do think, though, that might be. So Three and Four Musketeers might actually be the real Richard Lester, because I do
so.
think he has a beautiful sense of like artistry. I really do, and yet maybe this desire, this Mad Magazine itch to constantly sort of like underscore a scene with this kind of thing, and maybe I could see that in his mind, thinking that like that's like an interesting thing to do, but it never works.
No, and it's constantly undermining the
striking
drama of
towards
each
that.
scene.
Yeah,
It's
something in the
it's even undermining the wit of each scene.
it's in the delivery.
Well, that's what I mean. So,
Yeah.
for example, in the book, the Three Musketeers, it's done in a very positive. It's not serious. When they beat the Richelieu's guards, it's all done like, hooray! These men are excellent. You know, they're all so amazing. D'Artagnan disarms them immediately. You know,
Right.
so there's that feel to it, and Richard Lester has that quality, except he takes it to a level where it's not even interesting as, wow, these guys are tough, because they don't seem tough. They just all seem to be bumbling into it.
I get a feeling, because Richard Lester came first, that when you watch a Robert Altman movie, especially when you start with like MASH, there's a lot of those same kind of characteristics of, the characters. I mean, there's so much going on, and how dialogue and how characters talk over one another. They're, the scenes are just packed. There's, they're dense. And it's like, well, that really reminds me, because watching The Three Musketeers, at times I felt like I was watching an Altman movie. It just had that vibe.
Yeah.
It's like I'm watching Nashville or I'm watching...
But don't you think in the case of the Three and Four Musketeers, I think it's truncated and they're having to explain away with dialogue off screen to get the plot moving. It feels like edited.
That could be
Only
the
Four
problem.
Musketeers, right? Does that happen?
That could be the problem.
It happens not just the narration, but the dialogue. It seems like there's a lot of long shots with dialogue overlapping, which isn't the same as Robert Altman.
And maybe that's
you know what
the
I mean?
problem.
Like they're covering their asses because they didn't have the footage, because that's what the Salkins did.
Okay.
They're the
Well, if we go
precursors.
back-
They literally are the precursors to Golan Globus. That's what just cracks me
Wow.
up. It's just like, the same stupid like techniques of screwing their actors, trying to just eke out more movies than they should. Just all these things that they got sued for.
But I don't see that in terms of like, I think I could see the idea of Robert Altman in those huge tableaus of just court life or
I'll go with that.
everyday life.
But those have
like when
those have
the
more focus.
Musketeers
I think
are
the fights,
in.
but
sorry,
in the fights, there's all that. What Alex is talking about is in the fights. There's all that sort of aside dialogue, and there's all these things going on, which actually frustrates me and makes me think, why didn't he just commit?
Problem.
Why didn't he just commit to each person's fight?
Well, so here's a question then: does anything frustrate you, any of us, about Hard Day's Night?
No.
I don't see any
clean.
obvious flaws at all.
It's a very clean movie.
It's very clean. Right.
Yeah, it's clean. It's straightforward and it's funny.
Yeah.
No, it is.
It actually has it's so clear-eyed, and I actually thought I was gonna be bored, and I thought, I'm not. I told Nina when I first was watching it, when they started playing whatever song in the luggage compartment. Yeah. Anyway, I was like, I don't know if I'm gonna be able to tolerate 2 hours of this. But it wasn't that. It wasn't just like, hey Elvis, sing us a song, which I thought it would be. And it really morphed into this hilarious view of show business and fame.
Yeah.
Mm-hmm.
Right. So I don't think
and also
there's...
just
Go ahead. Sorry, Alex.
Oh, well, like, even in the early days, the trappings of, they have to, you are the Beatles. So you have a certain level that you have to perform at, not just on stage, but the press wants to see you. And that great scene where they're all being interviewed, oh, that's an interesting hairdo. What do you call that, Arthur?
Arthur.
And I love that answer, but do you think success has changed you in any way? Yes.
And I loved Paul McCartney's like, we're just good friends.
We're just good friends.
Yeah, I loved it.
And the thing with Ringo, do you think this hair is becoming? Well, I hope so. This one's on pretty good or whatever. Just those little moments.
I love the grandfather just like sort of galvanizing Ringo that he's such a wang and a loser.
Yeah, that was hilarious.
And the way they establish at the very beginning when Paul says, you got to watch out, he's a mixer, you have to really kind of tune into those British
What did he say about his
euphemisms,
big nose in a book? What was the line out?
Honker, well, you were scraping that book with your big honker or whatever.
It's funny. I didn't expect it to be so funny.
So funny.
For sure.
You should be out parading.
Yeah. No, that.
You won't get
and
that
they're
in a
doing
book.
a lot too with what they are reading. Like that guy who they put in the closet is reading a magazine with Elvis on the cover. And
That's
I just thought
they're all appropriate in a way. Really there's a lot of sneaky little,
And I do think that's Richard Lester because I think he has that level of love of detail.
Yeah.
He was a smart guy. He was a prodigy. So there's something there. I mean, he had the mind. He's obviously must have had a prolific mind.
So then when you get to Three Musketeers and they're like plot holes and slapstick.
Yeah. Maybe it's that money. That money stopped coming in.
Well, it's just interesting.
I think I think he had the best of intentions. I just, and he certainly.
So too.
Otherwise,
he wouldn't have passed it so well.
So if we're gonna get into it, I'll start first. I think it's the best. And again, it's one movie, so we keep saying the Three and Four Musketeers, but it's one movie.
Just Three Musketeers.
It's just chicanery on their part. They were just trying to screw people again. They just said, let's finish the movie, and they tried to sneak it off as one payday for two movies. But it's one movie.
Yeah.
So anyway, with two different composers, but we'll get into that later. I like it the best, even though I find it the most frustrating. So that's weird. I like Hard Day's Night a lot, but it's not as rich a film experience as Three Musketeers.
I agree.
Well, yeah. I mean, cinematic, yeah.
So we all agree on that?
Well, again,
Roseanne, I'll pin you to it. What do you like better, Hard Day's Night or Three Musketeers?
Yeah. So, you say that. Hard Day's Night is a better film. Three Musketeers is something I would watch more frequently.
Right.
Just because I like how he creates that world.
I went to go buy it.
Does a beautiful job.
I went to go buy it. I was shocked. It was full price. It was $19.99 for Three Musketeers. I was like,
Three Musketeers? Really?
Yeah. I'm like, what?
I'd be curious how much Hard Day's Night is.
I think is this the Kevin what Kevin Sullivan Anne of Green Gables package?
Well, it's funny.
So he basically, the Salkins sold it to some fly-by-night video retailer who's charging an arm and a leg.
Well, and I think Hard Day's Night is part of the Criterion collection.
Yeah.
So you'll never see it come down in price. I mean, I bought Help on sale for like $5 on iTunes. That's why I bought it, because it was like $4.99. I've never seen Hard Day's Night get below, I think, $20 or maybe $10 if you're lucky. And I think it could be too, you put the Criterion stamp on a movie and it's like, forget it.
Right.
It'll be $20 forever.
Well, it's all based on sales. It's all based on sales. Sure. So if a movie,
wait for it to come on. Well, if
so
you have
Alex,
classic
do you
movies,
like? Right.
Okay. My answer is I will take Hard Day's Night. I mean, as much as I love movies, it's just something. There's just something just visceral that appeals to me. Probably the music, the rock and roll nature.
Yeah.
And still, just I was a big Beatles fan, but I was never like a diehard. But I've always appreciated what they represented.
Harmonies. They're good at harmonies. Let's give it to them.
Well, and the thing is, it's like you take these four guys and you take them, apart. They're all good, but no one was ever a virtuoso. But
I know, but for the first time I ever noticed, just watching this film, I never thought about it. Honestly, I just
together they
I'm no
just
musician.
knew.
I'm not. You know me. I don't care about what you kids call rock and roll. But
well, see, I think
suddenly it occurred to me that do you take John Lennon's voice, you mix it with Paul McCartney? It is magic. I know I sound like a fucking moron saying this, but I just
true.
Never thought about
true.
it. I just thought, I never thought take them apart, and they do kind of suck.
But I mean, they have their qualities, but it's like. there was always that joke about, well, there's the Beatles are 4 drummers and Ringo's not the best. I mean, that was poor Ringo. But the thing about, if you really, really want to study the music and listen to what he does, it's like, but everything he does on every song serves that song. He never steps out. He always played a 4-piece. Drum kit. He never, when you look at those guys that had like the 20-piece drum kits with the gong, he never ever went beyond 4
Ringo
pieces.
Starr's awesome. Anybody who doesn't
He
say that,
is.
he actually
He
super
is.
duper
No,
is.
his
And
drumming-
he's also this huge vibe. And again, he was like the oldest of the Beatles and the coolest.
Yeah.
So I just always think
He was the youngest and the oldest.
Right.
That's always the
Yeah,
trick
yeah,
question.
yeah.
Yeah. George
but
Harrison was the
youngest.
youngest, who was also one of the oldest.
But I just think
Wait,
this
I'm not
beyond the-
following. What? How is the oldest and the youngest?
Ringo Starr is the oldest biologically, by age. He's the oldest, but he was the last. Remember,
Pete Best, yes.
Pete Best.
George Harrison was like a pup. He was like 16, 17. They had to lie about his age when they went to Hamburg.
Sure.
Yeah.
But Beatles alchemy aside, which I love, and again, I have a zillion Beatles albums, and honestly, like, I would consider myself like a a fan, but I just think
Just say it. You're a diehard. You'd be
Why
screaming
not?
in 1964 with the best of them.
Well, and that's another thing. Those scenes, like the opening scenes, still, I said it before, I said one of the best openings of a movie I've ever seen. When you hear the opening chord of Hard Day's Night, and here they come running toward the camera, that's real. I mean, the kids,
but it's also an
they were
amazing
real
way
athletes.
to capture
Ringo and George
all
really
of
fell,
that.
too.
Yeah. Oh, he
I'll
tore
bet,
his
yeah.
suit. Yeah, he fell, and they kept going. And apparently, you can't see it, but apparently somebody that was in the back was sort of like an assistant director or whatever, and apparently had to tell everybody, stop, slow down for a little bit, before they
you
get
kill
back up
them.
and they continue on. But if you watch a lot of those chase scenes at the beginning of the movie, and you see there are kids tripping and falling, I mean, it is real because these kids are real. They got Beatles fans, so it's like, don't, just, you're a Beatles fan. Enough said. So the screaming, the hysteria, it's all real.
But there's something about, okay, so again, like I said, I think it's a superior film and, just in terms of what it is, like perfect. But there's something, because it's also a Beatles film, that makes it less like of an intimate experience watching it. And so watching Three Musketeers,
yeah,
for
I
whatever
agree.
reason, I
agree. It feels like a
feel-
documentary,
Yeah.
for sure.
It does.
It feels
And
like
so
a
I
very
feel
funny
much more
documentary. but it-
connected to the Three Musketeers.
Right. And the Three Musketeers is a lush, vibrant experience.
It is.
That's that's why I'm suddenly caught up in this, because I loved it, hated it, loved it. So now I'm just torn, like,
Well, then I
think of my
think
good friend
you owe
Mark
it-
Kennig trying to solve the DOA problem. I think I finally solved the ending to DOA.
I think he's dying.
Every time you think about that, it cracks me up, or bring
I
that
never
up.
heard that story.
No, the
So
guy
then
was
I think
obsessed with
you
all
owe
the
it-
DOA movies.
Oh my God! I think you owe it to yourself then to see Help, because Help is kind of that bridge between Hard Day's Night and Three Musketeers, because Help is in color, but it's also much more sumptuous. It really is sumptuous.
But
I mean,
if it's still a Beatles music video collection, then I think that's distancing.
it is, but with less of the Beatles. And Roy Kinnear, God rest his soul.
Yeah.
That was the first time that Richard Lester worked with. And Roy Kinnear in Help is funny as Algernon, the assistant.
But
He's just a
How do you like
bumbling
him in
idiot.
Three Musketeers?
I felt he was wasted, because I know he's funnier.
But
than
he has
that.
sort of,
his
again,
moments.
he has a very European part, don't you think?
I actually like Roy.
The
What's
sort of
that?
silent,
I mean,
just
I do,
silent.
yeah.
Again, he just reminds you of some sort of silent European, like, troupe or commedia dell'arte player. Doing all the sort of
He did-
silent
he did have
thieving
that.
and this and that, taking the
He's
wine.
a real presence. As
Yeah, he's a
servant.
presence.
Yeah,
He is.
And
No, he
for
is.
Sure is.
Yeah, he's not given much to say, but I think that's on purpose.
Yeah, he does.
But we
quite
also
a
know
bit.
he's capable. I mean, people remember him as Henry Salt, and he was great as Henry
Always.
Salt.
But
Yeah, but it's
I
sad
have no
that
idea
he had to,
what's Henry Salt.
Willy Wonka and the
Willy
Chocolate
Wonka.
Factory.
Oh,
Ver-
boy.
Veruca's
Veruca
father.
Salt's
Yeah, I haven't seen that movie since I was a kid.
dad.
So.
Well, Roy
But
Kinnear is
the problem
hilarious in
with
that.
Three Musketeers is that it's also a stepping stone to Superman 3.
Yeah.
Like,
Well,
But it would also lead to the demise of poor Roy Kinnear. I mean, that's
Sure,
another thing.
for
I
sure.
can't find
That's-
return. I
that's
can't find the.
depressing,
I
for
can't
sure.
find the sequel. I can't find Return.
I
don't
wonder
know what,
if it's because of that. I don't know.
know. I just think.
I think
Well, they-
also that it was a huge
massive
flop, right?
turkey.
Yeah.
But I need to see it because it's the same. It's like Karate Kid 3. It's the same cast of characters, same producer, same writer, everything. It's just a turkey.
It's
And
not on Tubi because I feel like movies like that show
You'd
up on
think,
Tubi.
but it's not. I looked.
Well, okay, this has nothing to do with that, but just
I
thinking,
know.
well,
I know.
maybe.
Sorry.
No, I'm just thinking about. I feel disingenuous calling Richard Lester a hack.
Yeah.
I'm like, does the attempt? I'm like, okay.
I
but
never weighed
think-
in on that, by the way. I don't think he's a hack.
Okay.
I just think he's a guy with a really bad sense of slapstick. He's like me doing slapstick. I was terrible at it. And he's
Yeah, well, I mean-
terrible at it, but nobody ever tapped him on. See, I had Mark Werkhoven going, "Boy, Gene, you hate John Ritter. You could learn a few things from John Ritter. John Ritter's a genius compared to you. You're terrible at it," which I was, because slapstick has to be done fast, and you can't call attention to it. And unfortunately,
Sure.
that's his problem. It's slow, and he's calling attention to it.
But he has such a profound love of it that it's strange. It's funny
Yeah.
that he just keeps attempting.
It's like, yeah, the Salkins should have said, "Hey, stop it. Stop! We're not producing this expensive opening sequence. It's dumb. Let's just stick with outer space. It works."
Okay, well, here's a word analogy. Here's the difference. Take a movie like 1984's Bachelor Party
Okay.
with Tom Hanks.
Should we?
following.
Yep.
It's okay. So it's certainly not Citizen Kane, but you watch that movie and you watch Tom Hanks deal with comedy, and it was obvious from the early days the guy had a light touch. He knew what to do.
Forget actors now.
Director.
Forget
Okay.
actors. Let's shift focus. Who's a director?
Well, Michael Richards is. I mean, you're talking about
no,
actors.
let's go
Director.
directors. Who's a director who
Okay,
nailed slapstick
Okay.
every time?
So, Alex,
and
you're
we
right.
say
Wes
Wes
Anderson.
Anderson. Wes Anderson's as good as they get.
100%.
Wes Anderson. Okay.
But he wasn't
What was it
around in
about
the
his-
70s. Who was doing
Okay.
slapstick? Who was giving it some
Okay,
heft and
so-
credit?
Is Mel Brooks? Do we count Mel Brooks?
Sure.
So Mel
But
Brooks.
he doesn't do that quiet
It's
European business that Richard Lester is getting
No,
into.
it's more of the vaudeville. It's
slaps-
more of like
okay.
the Yiddish theater, the vaudeville.
But it's still
stuff, but it was there.
slapstick. It's still
Yeah.
physical comedy. So I think that counts.
Yeah.
Is Blake
no.
Edwards theoretically
Blake Edwards,
counts?
sure. I always
Um,
thought,
Would you say a lot of that has to do with Peter?
yeah,
Sellers,
because
though,
Blake
too?
Edwards on his
and Herbert
though
Long.
Blake Edwards.
Yeah, but
everybody
10
loves
has
Skin
a
Deep.
lot of slapstick.
Yes, it does.
No.
But do you mean that in a negative way? Like it does?
Yeah.
Yes.
Everything
No,
I say
agree.
about 10 is
But
negative.
I
dude,
agree.
But
it's
hey-
like the difference between Herbert Lom and Peter Sellers versus.
Let's give Blake Edwards credit on where it's due on 10. When he goes to the dentist and can't talk, it's fairly funny.
Okay. But I'm giving honestly, Blake Edwards, I think, is decent at slapstick.
Yeah,
I think, what's his name?
There is
Billy
that,
Wilder is
okay.
good at slapstick.
yeah.
I mean, I do think,
No,
Yeah.
I agree.
I would say that whole thing in Sabrina with William Holden sitting on the champagne glass and getting glass in his ass is like, I'm like, yeah. Together, that scene works. The two of them working together with Humphrey Bogart standing there looking at them like he's a complete horse's ass. I'm like, yeah, Billy Wilder. So those are things that work. And those are big shoes to fill. Those are all like
it's
titans.
Alex was always good at because he's physical and I wasn't. I'm more of a mental guy. I was all mental. I don't do the. But commedia dell'arte is hard to pull off. And Alex was part of the A team who could pull it off when we were doing
Good job,
that
Alex.
stuff.
Yeah,
When we were
well,
doing that stuff
yeah.
in period styles. But it is European. It's not an American thing, believe it or not. That's my
No, it's
feeling on
not.
it. It really is rooted in Europe. And
Well, and it's like,
to
what is
do
it?
it
It's-
well is to do it and it has a quality that in the Three Musketeers where he fails because it's distracted. It's distracting. It's not meant to be that. And I think that's the problem. And then in Superman, oh, for God's sake.
Well, and I can't help just question his commitment to it. And by the time we get to Superman, I don't care.
Yeah.
Like, I don't even have
Yeah.
I have questions, but I don't even feel like asking them by the end. I'm just like, dear God, forget it. It's not
All
worth
right,
thinking
is
about.
there a moment in Three Musketeers where the slapsticks ever worked?
Almost. Don't you almost think with Michael York in the very beginning with the classic, like putting his hand on the thing and everything falls down? I mean, it's close.
Really? Because I just find all that. Because especially now I'm reading the book, he's not a bumpkin, so why'd you?
I know, I
bother?
get it, but in terms of like a classic slapstick gag, I'm like, to me, that's as close as any of it got.
How about Raquel Welch's boobs in the little slot? Did that work for you? Were you just slapping that knee?
Well, when I was 12, I was not slapping the knee, but I was enjoying it.
You were
slapping something else. Were you?
Yeah.
I take the fifth on that one.
X-rated humor before, Alex.
There you go.
There was a time when I did.
The twin brother of
slapstick. Any better. No, but here's the thing. It's like, what is it with Constance being a bumbling fool?
Doesn't work ever. That dummy scene you talk about,
it's the
worst. That dummy scene.
No,
is
but
like,
it just comes out of nowhere.
What does he think is? And everybody's laughing in the film.
know.
Like Richard Chamberlain, they're all laughing like, oh, jolly good times. Like that looked like
and
it
that
hurt.
thing flies out of nowhere.
And it looked like it hurt.
And credit, okay, but I am going to give credit to Raquel Welch for selling it.
Yeah, I guess.
Falling on her ass, but it's like, but still, it's like.
I don't know if she's selling it, but I do feel like she is committed.
You know, she's not Lucille Ball. You know, she's Raquel Welch. But you know, like the first time we see her falling down the stairs, it's like I don't get that. I never noticed it the first time, but it's like, it's not working. You know,
like
and
I get the idea of trying to mess with her expectations in terms of making her a klutz, but I'm like, you know what would work better if she was just hot with her boobs hanging out.
Pretty
that
much.
would work way better.
If you had Shelley Duvall playing Constance, I'd buy that.
Well,
you know,
let's back up. I just got to tip my hat to Lucille Ball. I remember I never thought much of her till I saw Yours, Mine, and Ours, where she plays
where
a
she gets
sow,
drunk
where she gets drunk, and that is comic gold. Like some people can do it, and Lucille Ball was good at it. And I think she's
great. I mean, you really didn't give her any credit for.
No, I used to find the Lucy show tiresome.
No, it's exhausting, but a lot of it's because Desi Arnaz is sucking up the funny. Like he really is.
But Lucille Ball, I never gave her credit.
Oh, he was sucking on more than that.
I never gave credit for her good physical comedy skills. Like, not only am I not good at it, but I never appreciated it either until I was older and realizing it's a skill. It's a skill to make people laugh with visual humor, and most people fail at it. You know, and here we are talking about Richard Lester.
I don't know. So but I mean, yeah.
Well, and the fact that people do succeed just sort of brings into sharp relief that Richard Lester just fails miserably. And it's unfortunate because he has this amazing cast that he's sort of almost punishing with the misuse of physical comedy.
Absolutely.
Well, that's just it. Like you said, it's like I buy into every single one of them being who they are.
You got it.
Look at Richard, but look it's just, again, another moment that's in Superman 3. It doesn't work whatsoever. Because if it really was Clark doing that by accident, like not thinking about it, Richard Pryor would be cut in half, right? Because it's Superman. So he gets hit in the nuts with the door, and he's like, oh! And you're like, well, that doesn't work.
See,
why'd you put it in?
Again.
No, it was like broken his hips.
Because it's Superman, and Superman would have killed him.
It's like that episode of The Simpsons, man getting a football to the groin. I mean, it really was.
So you just laughed at it? You got a hearty chuckle?
No, I didn't. No, because the idea behind it, like, George C. Scott, my groin. I mean, it's like, no, you're right.
But it's such a failure.
Plenty of nut shots in Three Musketeers as well.
For sure.
Yes.
But specifically in Superman 3, at that moment.
No, I get it.
It's like, why did he bother?
The only thing missing in that moment was if Richard Pryor starts speaking in a falsetto,
sure,
which is like, if you really want to take it over, it's okay.
But the logical brain goes, but Superman, if he inadvertently opened a door on a guy, would just slice him in two.
Okay, so is there anything redeemable about Superman 3? I said Christopher Reeve and to some extent Robert Vaughn.
Strange. And I told Alex before we started this that I hated Robert Vaughn. I said, get ready for Robert Vaughn to suck up the joint. And now, for some reason, I'm like, that's odd.
You know,
I kind of liked him.
But again,
I don't hate Robert Vaughn. I don't
don't.
love him.
But he is Lex
I
Luthor.
love Robert Vaughn, the
Let's
actor.
face it. He's
Sure.
Lex Luthor.
But you want to talk.
Like, he just
Okay.
Go ahead. Al,
Yeah,
sorry.
but you want to talk about that European connection, because I would draw a line from Robert Vaughn to Victor Spinetti. They have that same kind of quality. And maybe that was something that Richard Lester was drawn to. Like he knew how to get, there was something about when I watched Victor Spinetti either as the TV director or as the mad scientist in Help, and then you watch Robert Vaughn, there is something, there are some parallels there. I don't know. And maybe I don't know. If it's Richard Lester, like, you remind me a lot of Victor Spinetti. He's doing something else right now, so let's get you to
Well,
do
Richard
it.
Lester,
Richard
Lester
Well, maybe I
does
am,
a good job,
but
though.
That's what we do on this show.
Of parodying people who love control. Like Charlton Heston is Richard. Is
Yeah.
really
Maybe that's a better way of saying it.
Is funny without all the slapstick. Like I love the end where he just waves D'Artagnan away. Like
Yeah.
Like I think that's so funny.
Yeah.
Just his like
and the King Louis the 13th pretty
So
whoever that
good.
actor is, he's
Yeah.
great being a
Vincent
bumbling.
Cassel's dad.
Do you know who he is?
No.
Cassell.
Jean-Pierre Cassel.
Yeah.
That's
Vincent Cassel's dad.
That's his dad. And
Yeah.
when you watch it again, you can see the resemblance.
Eyes and
in
nose.
the eyes.
But
Vincent
yeah,
Eyes
the
and
eyes for
nose.
sure.
sure.
Yeah.
He
But I
is
do
very
think
good
he-
because he just engages buffoonery. He never engages in physical comedy. It's always just
And he's always
a
played that
dim-witted
way.
boob. I mean, he just is.
Yeah.
And it's funny the way he's portrayed. And
That's what
They
I
do
mean,
that
though.
quite
I
a
think
bit,
Richard Lester is okay. I really have to think about this. He is smart because Richelieu and the King aren't. Richelieu isn't evil in a boring way, and the King isn't stupid in a boring way.
right.
And then what
I
about
think they're
Rochefort,
very
too?
interesting.
And Christopher
he's-
Lee is fantastic.
He's tremendous.
And
Christopher Lee
Rochefort,
is
yes.
amazing.
And Rochefort,
Yeah.
no.
And
And
now you
he
just
and
sit
Faye
there
Dunaway together are
and when
amazing.
and when you think of how like he was doing B movies all that time, and here he
Forget
is,
how good he
he's
is.
just killing it in this part,
Yeah.
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 No, what a
just like he
great-
kills it in Wicker Man. I mean,
Yeah.
And Man
you
with
put
the
him in
Golden
right
Gun.
role.
I think
Yes.
I think he's awesome in that. I just think
Yes.
anyway, he was perfectly used and perfectly cast. And that's a huge tip of the hat to Richard Lester because, if Christopher Lee staying in B movies just seems like incredibly unfortunate. And anyway.
No, and
He was always able to
definitely
laugh. He
seemed-
was able to laugh at that though in his career.
Sure.
So
Sure. No. Well,
when he was
sure.
on Saturday Night Live, he made that joke during his monologue. Most of my movies don't always show up at 3 a.m. or something. I was the man with the golden gun. I mean, he could laugh. At
I
that,
think,
so you have to.
well, a guy with a career and whatever life that long, I think has a fairly decent perspective of things. But I'm just saying, I think it's
Yeah, no, I think it's probably just had a healthy perspective on acting. Like it's a craft.
But the way Richard Lester used
But
him, I thought was, to his greatest effect. So,
yeah.
All right, so here we go. Let's get into it.
Okay.
In our final few minutes, who
Okay.
does turn in, and of all the films, of all the Richard Lester movies, who turns in the finest performance? Go, Alex
Who's going
Robertson.
first? Wilfred Brambell.
I'm gonna go with that too.
Look at him there. Oh. Bingo.
Roseanne? Actually, boy.
I think Chuck Heston. Chuck Heston.
I'm actually going to shift to
I-
Christopher. I'm actually changing my answer to Christopher Lee.
Ooh,
Yeah,
I
it's
would
like-
not
I don't
argue
know.
either way. I would
Chuck
not
Faye
Heston,
Dunaway is
Christopher
very
Lee,
good.
but I love Faye Dunaway.
Faye
I
Dunaway.
can't stop.
I'm
just
going
like,
to Faye Dunaway.
Nah.
Okay, and I say Charlton Heston, can I just say I thought was going to be in cheesy, stupid, overblown mode.
He's not.
No.
Hella cool.
That
He
was
really
such
cool.
that was a grounded, understated performance and scary.
It's like he really
So-
was my cardinal.
So can we do a ranking? I say Charlton Heston, John Lennon, Robert Vaughn.
Well, Okay. Robert Vaughn. Wow.
Robert Vaughn,
Wow,
huh?
you
feeling
really
Robert-
liked Robert Vaughn.
I gotta have.
Okay,
I'm gonna
Alex,
have
go
Wilfred Brambell.
rank.
Wilfred Brambell. Boy, oh boy. Wilfred Brambell at number 1. I gotta go Christopher Lee number 2. And I gotta go Faye Dunaway. I mean, I keep forgetting just how scary good she was.
Yeah, I'm gonna go Faye
You know,
Dunaway, Christopher Lee, and Wilfred Brambell.
It was like everything was fine.
And then
for
Ringo
Faye Dunaway in
Starr.
those two
Number
movies.
4 is Ringo Starr.
Ringo.
Okay. The number 4 is Oliver Reed.
Oh, Oliver Reed. What am I
Oliver
forgetting?
Reed's so good.
But see, Oliver Reed.
He's,
felt like they
he's
didn't give
underused.
enough.
Problem
He's
is
underused.
he's under-
That's the
exactly,
problem.
exactly.
But
Oliver
he's
Reed, yeah.
awesome in every scene he's
You know,
in.
as we were driving home today, wife and I went up into the mountains today, and she was asking me, "Tell me about the movies." And we got onto the subject of Oliver Reed, and I said, he was if you needed your brawling, drinking Hellraiser, you got Oliver Reed, because he was all of that.
Yeah.
I mean,
but
I said
he's
that's how he died.
So much more.
She's like, "What do you mean?" I go, "Because he died in a drinking contest, beating a bunch of sailors half his age, and paid the price."
Jeez.
Well, that's just it.
Okay.
Like you said, he was so much more. He
He's
was
so much more
more.
than that. And
But
I love him.
the booze got a little too much. I mean, that was the sad
Okay,
thing.
but
His-
just in terms of
His performance is why I'm reading the Three Musketeers, actually. So I don't even know why I've forgotten his ranking.
so what are you doing?
Okay, can I
Yeah.
say this? When I saw the movie Oliver in '68, that man gave me nightmares.
Sure.
Bill Sykes gave me I hated that guy. But all credit to Oliver Reed.
Well, and also he can be handsome, he can be romantic, he can be a bruiser, he's all these things. He can be.
He's all those
What's your
things.
favorite movie that you saw at the Rex, Gino?
Condor Man.
Condor Man.
Whoa!
Michael Crawford and Barbara Carrera. I saw it for Barbara
That's
Carrera.
right. Well, Michael
You have
Crawford.
your
another
Faye Dunaway, or not Faye Dunaway. You have your Raquel Welch. I've got Barbara Carrera. I went to see
Wow,
Condor
Barbara
Man. I was the
Carrera.
only one in Condor Man, or maybe 2 other people. They had a drawing, and I didn't get chosen. They had a drawing for like a poster or something.
They had a 5-person minimum, so I'm sure there were 4 other sad
Well,
sacks
there's
there.
always what is it? Oliver Reed and Burnt Offerings.
But
I mean,
no,
that's-
poor Oliver
that's
Reed playing the
strange.
evil Russian bastard in Condor Man.
Tough. But Oliver Reed, I think, does. And again, all those guys are great, but he's so good. So I stand by. Again, I just like Robert Vaughn because it's the only thing I really liked about Superman 3.
I'd place Oliver Reed over Robert Vaughn.
For sure. Okay, so
Yeah.
can I change it then? All right. Chuck
Yeah.
Heston, John Lennon, Oliver Reed.
Oliver Reed. Okay, that's a good list.
Okay. Yeah. Well. All right. And Christopher Reeve. I mean, we can't count Superman 2.
Obviously.
He does fine, but
Yeah.
he was just good to start
He's
with. so-
sidelined. He's
Yeah,
always
he
been good.
sidelined in his own movie. I
Yeah.
certainly would have
But
pounded
even,
some desks on that one.
But again, he deserves more credit for the way he sells the evil Superman
I
because he
agree.
never overplays it.
No.
No,
He
And
was a
he
good
really-
actor. It's
was.
only dawning on me. It's like, God,
Yeah.
Christopher Reeve
No,
was
no,
really
no.
a good actor. That
Every time
poor
I see him
guy.
in a movie, I feel like watching another movie with him in it.
Yeah.
I'm like, yeah,
Yeah.
Christopher Reeve. I wish
Not
there
given
was
many
more.
chances, really.
I mean, how many other actors would have chewed that up? Well, now you're becoming this, but he doesn't. It's just a look,
Oh, he's great.
a vibe he gives off, and he doesn't have to do any much more than that, and he's effective.
So I feel like
good.
this podcast is like a Richard Lester movie because I feel
It's a conundrum.
Right.
It's an enigma.
Do I know
It's a-
where I'm ending? Are there? I
No,
don't think he's
I don't think we've gotten anywhere. He's
Yeah,
a frustrating
really.
filmmaker.
Because we
To
would
sum
still
up, he was
recommend
a
his
frustrating-
movies. He was a
Right.
frustrating filmmaker who, yes, see his movies. If you love film, you will watch his
movies are worth watching, if nothing else.
They're
to be
worth
like,
watching.
What is
Yes, they
happening?
are.
So
Yes, they are.
Oh, yeah.
anyway,
All right. Well,
All right.
any film you would recommend, or I guess what's the question? Any film
Hard
you're
Day's-
gonna Any film you're gonna buy, okay, you own Hard Day's Night, right? You own a copy, Alex Robertson?
I don't own a copy. I recorded it because if you have TCM, they show it I think quarterly.
Oh, okay.
I mean,
Hard
it's
Day's
always
Night
going to be on.
should be shown at school, honestly. So if I ever have to teach an elective, it'll be the films of the Beatles, and
I mean, even if you're doing something on pop culture,
Sure.
I mean, the whole.
Well,
commentary,
I'd say how to do like a serious musician's film correctly.
sure.
Yeah.
If you're gonna make a film trying to be avant-garde and showing who you are, you can't do better than that. Which is probably why Prince copied it.
Be that
I would assume.
visceral, punch to the gut, which that movie is full of.
100%.
I mean, I love the whole "Can't Buy Me Love."
Yeah.
That, and it doesn't feel arbitrary. It's part of their world and just that manic world, and the moment they can get away from all the trappings of fame and just be themselves.
All right. So I'm gonna say Three Musketeers is the definitive Three Musketeers until my 700-page animated musical extravaganza comes out.
Starring Benicio del Toro.
First of all, that would actually be good.
That would be good.
It would be. No. It would be.
And
I mean that in
And
the
Chris
best way.
Pratt is D'Artagnan.
Oh, God. And Chris O'Donnell is the mute who never
Chris
says
O'Donnell.
anything, who just gets punched up,
Chris
gets
O'Donnell
beat
was
up all
the
the
skinny old man
time.
being tortured in King Louis's chambers, or Richelieu's chambers.
Exactly. It's the role he was made to play. Now you know how we feel.
All right. Well, thank you for a very, I guess, frustrating podcast.
Yep.
But
Yeah.
Far
But it was
ranging.
worth discussing.
Worth it.
yes, it was.
All the
Good to be
movies are
back.
worth it, actually.
All
Yeah,
right,
definitely.
this is our season finale, so I'm done
Well, good
for
to be
a while.
back, so we can come back again.
Yes.
Good to be back to say goodbye.
Yeah,
Right.
we're on
Right.
hiatus. I'm like one of those
Who will survive the podcast?
one of those dinky shows that's barely eking out its ratings. All right, thanks
Coming
everybody.
back.
Yeah, but
Mid-season.
we'll be
All right,
appreciated
thanks.
down the road.
Bye.
All right, thanks. Bye.
Thank you for listening to Fabulous Film and Friends. Copyright 2025, a Bel Air Films production.